What's that?
I've been waiting almost 13 years for someone to ask that question. I often thought I would die here, alone of age or starvation or violence, never having had the chance to reply. Do you know the words memento mori?
No.
It's Latin. Ironically, it's a dead language. It means remember death. Remember, you must die.
You've landed on The Substance. I'm your host, Philip Marinello, and I'm glad you're joining us. Whether it's your first time or your 195th time, welcome. Here at The Substance, we're looking to have conversations that help us all better appreciate goodness, truth, and beauty. Previous guests include folks like Film Spotting's Josh Larson, Dan McCoy of The Flophouse, New York Times film critic Alyssa Wilkinson, actor-director John Carroll Lynch, and our pals over at Letterboxd, Slim and Mitchell. This week, very excited to welcome first-time guest to the show, film, journalist, interviewer, writer, Brandon Streussnig. He's somebody whose work I've followed for a long time. We talk about his background in the show, but somebody who has loved film for a long time, worked hard, and is now doing some very exciting things. So we're going to be talking 28 years later, one of a film that we both put on very, very high on our films of last year list. And we are very excited to have him on for that. If you've been here a while and you haven't yet, reminder to hit that 5-star button. And if you're listening on Apple, take a couple seconds, write us a review. It helps us very much. Also, if you haven't hit the follow or subscribe button, it's free. That also helps put our new shows in your feed all the time. I turn off automatic downloads. Don't worry about that. But it will give you notification when we have new ones. So we invite you to do that at this time. Had a wonderful time talking 28 years later with Brandon here. Very excited to share that with you here in a moment. Also, stick around to the end for Physical Media Corner. Got some wonderful goodies from our pals over at MVD. So we'll be talking Physical Media Corner after the body of the episode. But without further ado, here's my conversation with Brandon on 28 years later.
Well, Brandon, man, welcome to The Substance. Really glad to have you. Glad we're able to finally get it together here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here.
So, many of our listeners may be familiar with the name because you've been like the last few years, man. It's been so great to follow and see the journey. You've been at a lot of cool places lately, talking to a lot of cool people, us physical media collectors. You've been on a lot of cool releases lately. But for the listeners who may not be aware of you and the blog and the journey, like you want to give us like a 60-second kind of bio.
Well, so I've always loved movies. I went to school for it and just found out like pretty quickly, aside from like just being unable to afford college, just that I wasn't going to have a career in the film industry. It just didn't seem feasible. So I, it's weird. I would just like, I worked as a janitor for 10 years, overnight janitor. And I would just like in my very early 20s would just post like these like real long reviews of movies I saw on Facebook, and friends and family just kept saying like you should start a blog. That was back in the day when like late 2000s early 2010s when everyone had a blog. And so like I started one, no one was really reading it, and just kind of like was just like doing my own thing for a while, like just like posting reviews when I wanted to, and would just tweet to like nobody, and then slowly started getting people following me. I think the first person that followed me that really started to like kind of retweet me and like take me seriously was Bilge Ebiri, who's Vulture's chief critic, and he's become like a
Very
good
nice.
friend
He's
now.
such a generous dude.
He's unbelievable. Yeah, he helps everybody. He's just a really great person, and he's become like a very good friend of mine. And long story short, he like started following me, which led to other people following me, and then the editor in chief of the Playlist reached out to me in like 2020, I think, because he DM'd me and said, "I like the way you worded this tweet. Would you like to write for me?" And I was like, "Wow." So I had been like plugging away since
Yes,
like
please. This
20.
is what I've been waiting
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, exactly. So I was sort of plugging away for since like 2015, and then around 2020 started getting professional gigs, and then from there it just slowly snowballed, and then I finally made the jump to New York from Pittsburgh a few years ago, and yeah, from there it's just been like it feels crazy. Like I'm just on red carpets for Letterboxd, interviewing people, doing stuff with the Ringer. It's very wild how it all happened. I don't believe it all the time, but it's been very fun.
No, man, that's awesome. And when did you get into, and this is just for me, we'll get into the movie here in a little bit. When did you get into the boutique Blu-ray world? Because I know you were writing things that got picked up by various sources. Like, what was your first Blu-ray release, if you remember? I'm sure you do.
It was so there was a Mexican horror movie a few years ago called Huesera the Bone Woman.
Yes.
Although, yeah, so that's what people know it as. Its director does not like the second title. I think that was forced on her
Ah,
by the distributor to like have like an American title or an English title, excuse me. But long story short, I interviewed her for something, and she liked our interview so much that when they asked her, "Who do you want to write the essays on the Blu-ray?" she picked me and two other writers.
that's what's up.
Yeah, it was a huge honor. Her name is Michelle Garza Cerveza, and she's like, or Severa, excuse me. And she just did on Hulu last year the Micah Monroe and Mary Elizabeth Winstead remake of the is it The Hand That Rocks the Cradle? Is that the one that they did together? I can't remember, but she's like doing bigger movies now. But yeah, from there just people started asking if I wanted to do essays. I do a lot of stuff for Vinegar Syndrome. Did something for Arrow recently, Outland, which is one of my favorite movies,
Nice.
and yeah, and just a few that I can't talk about just yet, but that moved
That's
into
exciting.
commentaries.
Well, if you want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
tease off the air, would love to hear that. No, I just in the recent Barnes and Noble sale, I picked up The Cat partially because of some of what you were saying about it. Like, I've never picked up a Radiance title and have been disappointed.
yeah.
And
They
then I
a
also
lot of
just grabbed The
times.
Stuntman.
Oh, I'm excited. Hopefully, you like the essay in there. Yeah, the transfer of the stuntman is beautiful,
The
but
whole package is
it's crazy.
incredible.
Yeah, it's funny. Radiance, like a lot of times, like I've never heard of like I would say 90% of what they're releasing, and I
Totally.
am always happy with it. Like the cat I had never heard of, and when they emailed me, they said like they were like, "We don't have a lot of information on this movie. There's not a lot online. Would you be willing to write about it?" And I kind of just like winged it because like I watched the movie, of course, and tried to find anything I could. But it's a really cool German heist movie from the '80s. But yeah,
I
it's
am
just
pumped to
fun.
watch it. That's on my I have so many things to watch for this and guesting and a few other projects, but like when I get to watch a movie for fun and stuff that people are sending for reviews, but like The Cat is very high on the list.
Oh yeah, it's very very cool. I hope you like it.
Well, which brings us so 28 years later, it's so cool seeing peers, people who like I've been following for a long time, get to like be part of this truly. And one of the things I thought last year was amazing is you got to sit down with Danny Boyle for Letterboxd.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. They reached out because I I had been pitching them a lot over the last few years, and their schedules are so far built out that they just don't have the time for a lot of people. And but Mitchell Beaupre, who's one of the editors there,
Friend of the show,
I-
Mitchell. Yeah, they're wonderful.
Mitchell's great, and Mitchell just like kept me in mind and finally reached out and was like, "Do you want to write?" It was a retrospective essay on Rafifi's 50th, and so or was it 70th? It was probably 70th. Yeah, that movie did not come out in the 70s. But anyway, long story short, that I got my foot in the door with them, and then they just reached out and said, Danny Boyle's going to be in New York. Do you want to do a career retrospective with him? And I was like,
That's
absolutely. And
amazing.
so, yeah, it was kind of a crazy experience because he was somebody who I loved a lot as a teenager and early 20s, fell off of a bit, but then going back through his work and rewatching all of it for that retrospective was really rewarding leading up to 28 years.
No, same. Pretty much the same journey. Like when the blank check did theirs, I was like, oh yeah, like because I did just fall off for a while because I didn't see Millions, and then he had a couple of just odd things that weren't necessarily my bag. But now he's back very strongly, and even revisiting some of the stuff, I'm like, this is better than I thought it would be. He's one of our greats.
Yeah, yeah, like Slumdog was one that I get all the problems it has like culturally, but I just think as a movie, I think it's genuinely very good. Same with Steve Jobs, which I kind of put off for a while, and watching that, I was like, this is
Same.
actually very good.
Yep, very, very good stuff. So 28 years later, we don't often cover like new movies immediately on the show, but I earmarked this when I saw it in the theater. I was like, man, I was like expecting to have a good time with this movie. Because it's Danny Boyle, but I was a little wary because it's a like a sequel, even though Train Spotting, like that was he didn't disappoint with that. It's just like we don't need another 28 something years later movie. But I like it really knocked my socks off. So I was like, I'm gonna put that on the list there. And then I saw your piece and I was like, I'd love to talk to Brandon sometime. So just thought this one would make sense.
Oh no, yeah, it was one of my very favorites of last year, and it really same kind of experience that you had. It really blew me away in the fact that like I love the first 28 days later. I think it's a masterpiece. I think like nothing looks like it. It's just incredible. 28 weeks is fine.
Agreed. Completely
Yeah,
fine. Josh
I think the
Larson is
opening
crazy. From Film Spotting, he puts that as his number 1 still of the
wow.
whole series.
Wow. I mean, it has an incredible opening and then it just goes nowhere after that. But so this one I went in sort of hesitantly, but like it was, this isn't a humble brag or anything. It's just like I saw it leading up to that interview with Danny Boyle like 2 months early, and it was weird because I found out after the fact. I don't know how this happened, but they were only showing the first 28 minutes to most critics, and they showed me the whole movie. And by the end, we'll get to this with spoilers and everything, but by the end, like it was just me and the publicist in this screening room at Sony,
Okay,
and
I
we
was gonna
looked at
ask,
each
did you get
other.
to see it in a proper, like,
Yeah.
auditorium, or did they just send you a link with, like, the
Oh no, no,
the
I
timestamps?
saw it in.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I saw it in Sony's screening room, and the publicist and I just like looked at each other after it was over, and we both were crying. It was such a bizarre experience. But yeah, I don't know why I got to see the full thing. I don't know if it's because I was doing the retrospective with him, but it was really, really special when I found out. Like a week or two later, I talked to a few friends, and they were like, "We only saw the 28 minutes of it." I was like, "What?" I was like, "How did that happen?" But yeah,
No, it was incredible. So, um, yeah, this movie picks up, and it's kind of its own story, potential trilogy. Do you think the 3rd one's gonna happen?
I'd like it to. I'm on an island a bit of not liking the new one very much. I think it's totally fine, but I just not to we're not talking about that movie, but just my short piece on the new one is that I think it's like the stuff with Samson and Dr. Kelson is like genuinely beautiful, and I think like some of the most interesting stuff any zombie
Incredible
movie has ever
stuff.
done. Yeah. I just wish that I don't know, I think the stuff with the Jimmies falls really flat as the movie goes along, and I just don't think it looks or sounds as good as the first one.
Yeah,
Um
I completely agree. So yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to start with this one is just and not to get super technical, but like 28 years later was a gorgeous movie. Like
yeah.
from the
Yeah.
jump and 28 years later in its ugliness was a beautiful movie, but like this there was like the whole big shot on an iPhone like they had a crazy rig, but like this is a gorgeous film.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate like how much Boyle and Anthony Dod Mantle, the cinematographer, try to push boundaries with this sort of stuff. So like just the way they shoot on mini DV in the first one obviously places that in a moment in time where I think it's like it's weirdly like of its
So
moment but
strong.
also so timeless. Yeah. But this one being shot on the iPhone rig, like you never know how that's going to look. And I think, I like when Soderbergh shoots on the iPhone, although I think sometimes it
Mhm.
can be a little uncanny valley and weird. But you never know what it's going to look like. But the way they use it is just so interesting to me. Like the landscapes are a little distorted, and I love, the stuff that they do with the arrow shot as where it when it hits the infected and how it cuts to like another iPhone camera to like show you another perspective within that moment. The first time that happened when I saw it in the theater, I like gasped. I was like, I can't believe that just happened.
No, it's incredible. Yeah, some of the moments of extreme violence that do like a kind of jilty, bullet timey, like around the area of effect, or like when Samson jumps down into the train, like it's so fresh. And Boyle's not a young guy. Yeah, it just felt so wonderful to kind of feel like such a vibrant movie. And then The other thing, along with how good it looked, before we get into like a ton of specifics, I love the soundtrack. Young Fathers
Oh
was
yeah.
one that I got into. I think when their second album came out, I just found it. I'm much more of an album guy. Like I don't listen to a lot of playlists and stuff. Like I don't know, it's just not my thing. But I found it on some sort of like chill, vibey playlist, and I'm like, oh, I really like this. So I mean, I think for 2018, 2019, I was listening to them a lot and kind of just writing to them just because it's so vibey. And I don't know if I ever came across anybody else who really listened to them, but as I was listening, I'm like, this is like cinematic music. And I
Oh
thought
yeah.
that for a long time. And then when I heard that they were doing this with Danny Boyle, I got very excited.
Oh, it's an incredible score. It's just it's so evocative. It's so beautiful. Some of the music like genuinely like makes me like tear up during the movie.
Yes.
That good. Yeah. And just one last thing that I wanted to say about the technical aspect too is I think it's so fascinating to shoot it on an iPhone because it does place it in our current moment where like we film everything on our phones now, but it makes it even more incongruous because the island of England has never seen an iPhone in this world. So it's really cool like until, that Swedish soldier brings,
Yes.
but like it's
Which is
it's
a
a really
great
cool.
little bit, but which
Yeah,
kind of highlights the whole thing.
yeah, yeah, and it's such a interesting juxtaposition to like shoot it that way, shoot it in a way that we're all shooting things now. Everyone has like basically a ready-made like cinema ready camera in their pocket now. I mean, I know that's such a cliche thing to say. Everyone says that, but it's true. The better iPhones get, it's just true. And so to use that and then shoot this place that in this world has never seen one, held one, I just thought that was really cool. And it's such an interesting effect to me. But yeah, the score too is just, and again, I don't like to be too hard on the new one, and I do hope they make a third one. I'd like to see Boyle come back and wrap all this up. But just to go from the way that one looked and the way that one sounded to just a very traditional score, a very traditional cinematographer, it looks good, it sounds good, but it's just like everything just feels like good when the last one, the one we're talking about, just felt like really special. And so I wish, I hope that this not doing well didn't give them cold feet for Boyle to come back and finish it.
I mean, the first one made enough money and the second one made money. I also hope that, yeah, they're able to get it over the finish line. Alex Garland's been working a ton lately, to varying levels of success for various crowds, but it's always interesting, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's always an interesting screenwriter, and I don't love Civil War. I mean, I didn't like Men at all, but I think at least he's trying things. I mean, I still people have really turned on him, but I still love Ex Machina. I still love
Yeah, people
Annihilation.
have turned on him. Like, I think Men is very interesting, and I'm very
Yeah,
curious to feel like what we'll all think of Men in 15, 20 years. Like, I liked
he's a
it,
guy. Yeah,
and
he's
I
ripe
just
for
like all the
reevaluation.
vitriol against it. I was like, man, I don't wanna be like, all the things that I think people were mad about, I was like, I think that's kinda the point. Like, I didn't feel like it was necessarily edgelordy, but, like, the whole of, like, horror reflecting society, I was like, I I kinda thought it just did that. I mean, it's very upsetting, and I get why some people didn't like it, but anyway, we
I totally agree with you. Like I disliked it for different reasons, but I think there's people approach movies often thinking that they're like a step ahead of it and above it, and then when you read some complaints, you're like, well, that's answered by the movie, and it's just you trying to be smarter than the movie. And I saw a lot of that with Men, and yeah, I agree with you.
and again, yeah, it's I liked it mostly, and I'm like, "Man, this is gonna be one that I can't wait to just do a cultural, pulse check in, like, 20 years, because I feel like that one could go, like, either way, because it is so bold, and again, that's Garland, like, the guy takes swings.
Absolutely, and I think his directorial stuff has been hit or miss with me, but I don't think he has a better collaborator than he does with Boyle.
Oh, not at all. So getting into the movie itself, I didn't really know what to expect. I saw the incredible teaser trailer, and whatever team put that together, all the studios, give them all the money. Like it was exciting, it was very cinematic. It was so good that like it affected the movie with the poem there. But yeah, after that teaser, I aggressively tried to know nothing about it at all. And when we got into the movie and it became clear relatively early on that we're we're not really getting and not that 28 Days Later was a traditional, like, zombie or infection horror, but this is like, "Oh, no, this is like a coming of age movie, very distinctly." And, I mean, it's very much a horror movie, but I was not expecting this to be such a touching coming of age tale.
Yeah, I didn't expect that either. It's very much like a boy's first journey into the wilderness, which was really fascinating to take it in that direction. And it's also just a really moving sort of look at how to process death and how to live a life, in a world that's like pure chaos, to live a life, like love forward, and how that like will translate into being able to process death more. And then of course, people argued a little bit about this. I hate to invoke Twitter, but I got yelled at a little bit about it on Twitter by idiots. But it's a very anti-Brexit movie, and I mean,
Sure.
Boyle said that to me flat out when I was interviewing him. He said, like I, looked at the way these people are sequestered on this island with all of their traditions and wanting to keep it that way, and he was like, and I think that for me that's not the way forward. And he said, I think Brexiters find that that's the way forward, but I don't feel that way. And yeah, and I think that combining those three things, in a zombie movie is really kind of wild.
Oh, truly. So, I mean, from your first unique experience to prep for your thing with Boyle to your first proper theatrical experience, what were some of the big standouts for you when you think of the movie?
Well, number one, and this does carry over to the sequel, is Ray Fiennes is like astonishing in this movie, and it's the way they build him up to be this like creep and this scary guy is like great, and then when you finally meet him, he's just such a lovely presence, and he's so calming, and he centers you weirdly. He's covered in this iodine; it looks like he's covered in blood, and he just centers everything. And so that stood out immediately. I mean, he was one of my favorite performances of last year. He's already one of my favorite performances of this year.
The finale of the Bone Temple
Yeah,
brought the house down.
it was wild
What a
stuff. Yeah.
fun, crazy set piece that was.
So that stood out to me. And then I think, aside from the score and the way it was shot, I think the way it slows down at the end to let Spike, I don't know how soon you want to jump into spoilers,
I mean,
but
this is spoilers. We can jump around.
okay, yeah. So the other thing that really stood out, just to touch on, the thing that really moved me with processing death and everything, was that the movie really slows down to let Spike, process his mother's death. And that moment where he's like a little drugged up, he's fighting it, and Jodie Comer has, Dr. Kelson drug him so he can, be a little more at peace.
Spike. Memento mori. What did it mean?
Remember, we must die.
And it's true. There are many kinds of death. And some are better than others. The best are peaceful, where we leave each other in love.
And just that whole moment, and the lilt of Ray Fiennes' voice while he's speaking to him, telling him, you know, remember we must love, all of that was just like profoundly moving to me. And so that just all really stood out to me when I saw it, because I, like you, I went in not knowing what to expect. I saw the trailer and was like, this looks crazy. This is a great trailer. And I think it's been confirmed that they cut that trailer with the Boots poem, not having it in the film, and they saw,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, and they were like, we have to put this in the film.
Like, that's so Danny Boyle's like, "Where's that from? That is good."
And so, like, yeah, I didn't know what to expect, other than I know Ray Fiennes is in this, and I know Jodie Comer's in it, and I know Aaron Taylor Johnson's in it. But like, so those were the things that stood out. Not knowing what Ray Fiennes was going to be, thinking I had an idea of what he was going to be just based on his like screen presence throughout my life and everything, and then to have this performance from him in this context, like that stood out the most.
Just like you said, so listeners, hopefully you've already seen it, or if you don't care, like, they really did a masterful job of kind of, a lot of people called it out, building him up kind of like a Colonel Kurtz figure from Apocalypse Now, like this mythic guy that went crazy, and he's got these piles of bodies, and he's building these bone monuments, and he's just totally off the grid and gone. And then when you meet him, it is so, like you said, calming and centering. I The first time I saw this movie, like yourself, I was weeping at the end, but the second and third time I saw this movie, like throughout, like there are just these moments that it's so emotionally powerful because as it's a movie, it's very heightened. There's so much death, there's so much uncertainty, there's so much danger, and then here's this man who's forging this he's doing this project, and we learn more about it in the second film, which I think the Samson stuff is incredible as well. I agree. Like, this is a man with so much respect for life, that he respects the human and infected alike in some very interesting ways. It I there's no way I think anybody could have seen it coming. And I was like, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, they should work together forever.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think that there's a little bit of the George Romero movies that try to approach, like, oh,
Oh
these
yeah,
were
Day of
once
the Dead
one.
for sure.
Yeah, like they approach the fact that these were once people and maybe we need to, treat them with like humanity. But I don't think any of them ever go as far as what this does, where it is, I don't think we ever slow down in zombie movies. And as an audience, you don't sit there and think like this was once a person. And, and to see that in this where it's, Dr. Kelson, like you said, is approaching it like that with the humanity that he would give to a human being who wasn't infected is really beautiful. And I also think it speaks to the fact that he comes, from a background of being a doctor. He's practicing do no harm, and it's really lovely. And I also think too, another thing, now that I'm thinking about it, to answer more of your question about what stood out, is I think the more I watch this movie, the more I connect with, not connect, that's the wrong word, but the more I appreciate that they don't make Aaron Taylor Johnson's character like a bad guy. I think
Agreed.
that, yeah, I think there's a world in which, like, oh, he's like cheating on his sick wife and he's being a little bit hard on Spike, having him go out there. But it's like, he's genuinely, I think, deep down a good father who loves his son. And I think it's really kind of an interesting, within this whole world with these many storylines going on, that this movie takes the time to try to paint the picture of a very complicated father who's trying his best to love, to provide for his family and love his son in like really shitty circumstances. Like he's living in the apocalypse and then his like wife is dying and losing her
Well, yeah.
mind.
And
Yeah.
again, not to um just hand wave the complications, but I think in his own ways, watching it again and again, like I think he does have a lot of love for Isla. Like, he just doesn't think she can be helped, and he doesn't know what to do. And he is so in that, like, the Brexity, like, this little thing is all we have, and it can't help her. So like, she's dying slowly. What can we do? It's messy and it's complicated. But like, I thought the dichotomy, and it's not perfect because of what we said, and I don't think it was trying to be, but the two, like the two different paths of the parents, and the way it was, like you said, it was very love forward, and with Dr. Kelson and the way Isla's story ended with him, like I I really couldn't believe it. Like, Memento Mori, I feel like is such a big thing in the culture, and just the addition of like, yes, remember we must die. Like, we're mortal, we will die, and remember we also must love in this life. Like, that is like the anchoring thing. I I was like almost ugly crying in the theater the
Yeah.
first time when
Yeah,
he
no,
gave
me
that
too.
speech.
And well, and you brought her up too, and we haven't talked about her a whole lot, but Jodie Comer's character, I don't think there's many. There are instances of this, but there are a few like boys' own journey movies where it's the mother on the journey with him and not the father, and I think that that's really fascinating too. That he, brings her along because he wants to save her life, but she's also on this journey with him, and I think Jodie Comer is really spectacular in
She's
this movie.
just like incredible, a perfect fit for this. And I was kind of bummed actually that like she didn't get more nominations and acclaim. I think her work in this movie was I think it will stand the test of time. It's incredible.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that you know I love the little moments of just the quiet moments that they have together where they're sitting in the field and she's kind of like remembering things from her past with like her own father and everything. It's a really special performance.
Well, and again, this past watch, I was really locking in on the differences between Aaron Taylor Johnson's character and Jodie Comer's, like the mother and father, when he took Spike out for his first hunt. Um, he was giving him speeches, so like he had him kill one of the very like fat, slow, not really posing a threat infected. No, it's kind of like his like pop your cherry, like this is like you need to have your first, and he's talking about like the more you kill the easier it becomes, and that was kind of what he's like, this is a broken dangerous world. To survive, this is a skill you need, so we're going to need to practice you on this. And kind of going like, yeah, like destroying who you are is kind of a part of it, and like that's just part of life, and he's kind of accepted that. Versus Jodie Comer's character, Isla, when she and Spike take refuge at like the church or whatever, and then we learn that she she isn't just a sick old lady. Like she still has a lot of fight in her. She's very protective. The way she kind of shields and protects Spike from the violence and the brutality. I was very struck by that this time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really kind of I had thought about that a little bit, but it kind of like wasn't at top of mind, and I appreciate that you bring that back up. It's nice to see like two different ways to parent, and you don't typically again have the mother and the protector role where she's like you said waking up in the middle of the night to kill this crawling zombie. Like it's a really that's where I think a lot of where Alex Garland is, this script is just really kind of like singing to me, is it's subverting things just enough to where you're like, this is something I hadn't thought about before, and it's really kind of beautiful.
Well, yeah, because neither parent, like both parents, are like, this is the world we have, and the father's like, you kind of need to embrace brutality to get by, and the mother's like, she doesn't even say it. Like she even tried to hide it from, like she doesn't shy away from what is necessary to survive and to protect her child, but she's trying to protect him from that. And then partnered like her killing the infected to protect Spike, next to the scene in the train, which I it didn't quite get me as emotional the first time. I was just overwhelmed and kind of just knocked off guard where she delivers a baby for the infected.
Oh well, no, that's just one of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen in any movie, and the fact that it's in this zombie movie that they take a moment
Right?
to like deliver a baby, like in her human moment with the infected where they hold hands with each other. It's just it, and that's of course all setting up what eventually will become of Samson in the next movie. But yeah, those little hints of like how the people are still inside there somewhere is really lovely. And yeah, I think it's the most interesting thing that happens in 28 or Bone Temple, excuse me, is the continuation of that where Samson's becoming human again. It's really my thing though, just as a sidebar, is like, and I remember talking to my girlfriend about this after we saw the movie, where I was like after Bone Temple, I mean, I was like, do you think like he remembers being infected? Like, do you think there are moments where like it would fuck me up if I'm like if I came back too and I remember like ripping people's like heads out of like
Do
spines
you
out of their
remember
body
all
and eating
those
it?
like
Yeah,
spines that yanked
yeah.
out of torsos and like
Like is
setting
like I
up the
feel like the
deer
next
heads?
movie, yeah, if they make the next movie, I feel like it just needs to be Samson in therapy the whole time because he's like been eating people and like ripping their heads off.
Yeah, coming back to reality. Like I think that is a beautiful thing about humanity. But then yeah, the reality of that would be woof. That would be very tough.
I did want to ask because you know something I find so crazy about this world, especially what they establish in these new movies, is that this only happened to England and that like we've just kind of left them to their own devices. I find that
Yeah.
so funny.
Yep. I mean, with the world we live in, I feel like that would be hard to do, but I could definitely see that.
Well, I mean, I laugh, but at the same time, I mean, we see what's happening in like other countries right now where we're, not only leaving them to their own devices, but we're kind of like perpetrating a lot of it too. So it's like that probably would, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if in the real world if we just like dropped a bomb on England or something, or maybe we did, and this is what's left.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's another wonderful thing. We our brand is things of substance, and I love that we have done a lot of genre stuff because like a lot of people like to write off horror and genre, and I know you're a big action guy, like, but if you have a good artist, like any type of story can deal with these things that touch us and move us and like get at real things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I've always tried to, find in movies like this. And that's why, it was nice of you to bring up the action thing because that was something that I did a lot in my early career where I felt like people would write off action or genre as like, oh, that was fun. Or, you would read reviews of one of the big moments I remember, this is completely off topic, but it's just in my head. When The Beekeeper came out, so many of the, big critics that, I either follow or I'm friends with were giving it like you would read the reviews and you would see like and I'm not saying, by the way, just as an aside, I don't think The Beekeeper is a movie of substance. That movie has bizarre politics. I love that movie, but that movie's like really weird and I don't think it's very coherent.
Totally.
But
Very fun, bizarre,
yeah.
but we should have more of the studios should fund action movies more regularly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would but like to your point about, like taking this stuff more seriously is I would see people the reviews would be like, this was so fun. I had a blast, really great action, but this isn't a good movie. We all know that. And I would always bump with that because I would read so many reviews of so many genre movies where I'd be like, three-fourths of the review was the reviewer liking the movie and then ending with, but it's still a bad movie. And it's like, well, no, it's not. You just made the case why it isn't. So let's talk about it. It's just, I think
Totally.
that, yeah, I think you're absolutely right that there's so much to be found in movies like this that I think a lot of people dismiss. And I'm glad that it seemed like people didn't with this one. I think that this movie was largely pretty beloved from what I could tell.
Oh, totally. And I love that as a genre fan, as a Boyle fan, as a 28 Days Later fan. I love that. I love that so much. One of the other big things that I wanted to hit was this time watching it for our conversation here was the first time I had watched it since I had seen The Bone Temple. And the opening with Jimmy and his mom and his siblings and his father in the church, like, that hit a lot harder, and I got very, close to tears on that one, like, the what it takes to form or malform an individual sometimes can be so small, and, like, I know that maybe wasn't exactly the point, but, I mean, maybe it was in a way because, like, all of the Bone Temple, we see that one interaction with Jimmy's father in the temple where he says something like, "You have to keep the faith, like, this is God's will, and, like, always hold on to, like, this cross." And, like, what the cross is ostensibly a symbol of is a big part of his personality while engaging in the most depraved things that he thinks are necessary towards some sort of positive end just because of that final moment with his father, and, like, that was as a father, like, that was just brutal to watch having seen The Bone Temple this time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that's something that I wish that the new one would have. Again, I should give the Bone Temple another go. I think there was a lot of me during that movie where I was like, "Oh, this doesn't look or sound the same," and like kind of being a little annoying about that. But I do think there's a really interesting thread with Jimmy where he, his brain broke in that moment, and how couldn't it? He was a child whose brain wasn't formed, and he's watching Teletubbies, and all of a sudden his world ends, and it's like, yeah, of course he would, assume that, God isn't the savior. What he witnessed was Satan, and Satan is his real father. Like, it all makes total sense. I wish that the new one did a little more with that. I think it maybe does. And like I said, I'm probably not giving it enough
In
credit.
ways, I think it's really interesting. I need to watch it again. I've only seen it the one time.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
had a wonderful theatrical experience, but once it
It's a
comes out, I'd
blast.
like
I
to
should say
revisit it.
that. It's
Maybe
a
I'll have you
blast.
back down the road. But, like, his engagements with Dr. Kelson is kinda, and I do wanna talk to you about something specifically. I wanna tie this into your interview with Boyle, but Jimmy's conversations with Dr. Kelson, his very frank conversation before the big set piece that is the finale, is fascinating, kind of like what a lot of people have been going through in the post marriage of Trump and evangelicalism in America, like the deconstruction of Jimmy, like realizing, oh man, like everything I built this on is kind of falling apart, but like my identity isn't like I can't let my own identity fall apart. So we got to move forward. Like, what do I do? And that's just such a fascinating, like moral, human, spiritual dilemma, and just the momentum that he has had with all the brutality, like his choice, like the reality of what his choices were going to be, were what they were going to be. But it's a very human like experience, like going through the questioning of one's faith, basically.
Yeah, no, completely, and that's a great point. I mean, you're talking me into maybe giving Bone Temple another go and like watching it again, and because I'm starting to like it more the more we're talking about it. But two, no, it. There's a lot of these two movies that I think are born out of a post COVID. I mean, some might say we're still living with COVID. I mean, I guess we are forever now,
Sure.
but these are born out of like that post lockdown pandemic world and how people's brains were broken during that time, and you either sequester yourself like the people of that village do, or you become open and you welcome people in, and you try to build more of a community. And in a bizarre way, that's what Dr. Kelson's doing. I mean, he's doing it with dead bodies and with bones and everything, but he's building a community of remembrance. And so like it's interesting to view these movies as like post-COVID movies and to see the ways in which brains broke during COVID and after COVID. And then that extension with what you're talking about with Jimmy, realizing that there's like nobody behind the curtain, that there's nothing to what he believes. And then he can't he can't give that up because then his followers are going to be like, well, what were we doing here? It's a yeah, I don't know. Maybe I like Bone Temple. I should say I think Bone Temple was like a
I
solid
forget
three.
her
Yeah,
name. I towards the end of the Bone Temple, I was like, "Man, 28 years later hit me so hard emotionally." And this has a lot of good themes, good performances, Rafe is killing it, but, like, it didn't really hit me emotionally, and I don't remember the beat by beat, but, like,
yeah. I
when it happened, like, it really got me was when the basically the gal who, like, takes Spike under her wing, sorta, kinda, makes the choice. Like, she is
yes,
presented with, like, "You've done" like, they didn't see what they were doing as terrible things. They saw it as their worship or homage or whatever to, like, their belief system. Like, all of their brutality was framed to them by Jimmy as, "This is what it means to be a faithful follower." And then Jimmy's already bought in, like, he can't change his mind, but when she sees that and, like, makes the switch, like, that got me, because it's like, man, how many people were given systems that end up being oppressive and harmful and all these things, and then, like, what do you do? Like, when that moment happens? And again, this is a zombie movie, and he's he's doing, Iron Maiden, so, like, it's just nuts that these movies are swimming in those waters.
yeah, absolutely.
So tying that specifically into your conversation with Boyle, feel free to share as little or as much as you want. But one of the things you talked about when talking about Sunshine in particular was just you said you're not a super spiritual guy, but the spirituality of stories is something that's always interesting to you. Feel free to
Yeah.
unpack that, how that ties into this.
Well, it's just it's a lot of like I feel like I'm not like you said, I'm not a spiritual person, but I do search for it. It or I feel myself searching for it when I'm watching film, because I feel like, I mean, maybe this is cliche for people, they could roll their eyes, but I do feel like it can be so transportative that it just like I'm like I have moments where I'm like, oh, maybe I do believe in something, because like how else could like something like this exist? And the reason that all came up is like I was talking to Boyle about his collaborations with Alex Garland, and I found it fascinating because I thought for sure before the interview that not that I had this on, this wasn't a thought I had ever had, but if I were to think about it, I would have assumed it was the reverse, but Boyle told me that he's much like me, that he doesn't want the easy answers. He doesn't want, things to fall into place. He wants to have something more mystic out there, maybe something more spiritual. And Alex Garland wants scientific answers for things.
Sure.
And I found that a little fascinating, especially after Annihilation, where I didn't feel like, that was the case. But yeah, it's funny watching that push pull of Sunshine, where you do feel some people feel that movie falls apart a little bit. I love that movie, but there is that
I
push
think
and
it's
pull.
incredible.
Oh, it is, yeah. And there's definitely a push and pull between the two of them, between the mystical and the scientific.
This is a side note. I may cut it or use it as the bumper, but you just reminded me very briefly. The first time I missed Annihilation for whatever reason in the theater. And the first time I saw it, not the most ideal format, but a surreal and crazy experience. Really early morning traveling. I downloaded it onto my phone and I was watching it in the terminal, boarded the plane, watched it, and literally, Brandon, the moment the plane took off is when they entered into the shimmer and like the air pressure changed in my whole body. Like it was crazy. It was a crazy experience.
I don't know, you said that's not an ideal way to view it, but that kind of feels like the best way. That's
It
really
kind of
cool.
was, honestly. Like my like I it's I always roll my eyes when people say it, but like I literally had like goosebumps everywhere and like I don't know if I actually started crying, but I was like I just got a rush. Like my whole like I felt like my heart. I was like, this is insane. And it was
Yeah.
an amazing it was a 5-star experience.
No, it would be for me too. But yeah, I don't know if I have like a cogent thought about, about my relationship to spirituality. All I know is that like when I watch some films, I do just find myself like, sort of like reaching for something more. And Boyle, it's weird because I never would have thought about it until rewatching his work in preparation to interview him, and then after talking with him, it solidified even more. But his work kind of his use of camera, his use of like image and everything, the way he
And the child like the centering of children. And like
yeah.
I think like because I mean, different traditions talk about like childlike faith. It isn't a here's all the answers to everything, and here's all the cold hard, like the wonder. Like it's I think that makes when I read that I was like, oh man, that makes complete sense. Whether it is like a Slumdog or a Spike coming of age in 28 years later, or like something like a Tarkovsky, like Ivan's childhood, like those all I think that those stories following children through intense situations, like, that really is that was a very interesting thing to kind of partner with, like, somebody who's drawn or seeking something.
Yeah, and I think that a great companion with 28 Years Later, which surprised the hell out of me that this one makes the best companion out of all of his work, in my opinion, is Millions. I think that's a movie that a lot of people overlook for Boyle. I don't think many people, but it's one of his better movies, and I think
I
that
need to go back to that.
it's a lot of fun. And I think that there's a lot of relationship with, the way Britain's going, the way, it's becoming more nationalistic and everything. And just the through a child's eyes, I think that that really sort of ties well into what Spike's going through. And it was just wild coming out of 28 Years Later. And my first thought was like, wow, like more people should watch Millions.
I love that. Any final thoughts we have in email, and then I wanna do final stuff, but, any final thoughts or final words on this most, recent reconsidering of 28 years later?
Oh no, I love it. It was one of my I think it was in my top 5 last year, which was really interesting because my top 5 outside of that was like Zsa Zhang Ka's Caught by the Tides, The Shrouds, and like a few like very like independent surreal movies, and then this big studio horror movie. But I mean, so I mean it really just I think it's really special. I think the way it plays with image is special, and yeah, I know a lot of people kind of missed it in theaters, and then I hope people are going back and watching it because I think it's as good as the first one.
I completely agree, and you mentioned the Shrouds, maybe we need to talk more, chat off air sometime. I would love for you to sell me on the Shrouds. I was so excited I saw it at a festival, I wanted so badly to like it, and I I did not have the experience I was hoping. So
Oh man, I that one's a tough one for people. I do get it. It's such a specific wavelength. It's very bizarre, and I don't know. I just really loved how strange and how funny it was, and how it sort of just made fun of the paranoia of people. And I don't know. I had a lot of fun with that one.
no, that's one that one day I will revisit. Okay, email. Let me pull this up. Okay, from this is an email we got. I put it out there. Hey, we're doing 28 years later. I told some friends that you were going to be on because I don't always like to announce who the guests are in case anything falls through, so I don't overpromise. But I told a small circle of friends, hey, like Brandon said, yes, that's going to be cool. We're going to talk to him. So my buddy Scott in Toronto, who lives in New York, he said, hey, Philip, excited to hear about your conversation with Brandon on 28 years later. Back in the summer of 2024, when the whole Miami Vice thing happened on Twitter, I was lucky enough to be one of the people who went to the IFC screenings that they organized real quickly. And it was okay. Little backstory here. He said it was actually a very memorable movie day overall. Wow. See, to live in New York, okay, here was Scott's movie day that day. He went with friend of the show, Kev, host of Laurie Strode Trap House. They saw Sing Sing. Then they both saw The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. Oh, wow. And he said after they walked out of Colonel Blimp, they learned that allegedly the president had been shot. And then they went down to see the Powell and Pressburger documentary with Thelma as a Q&A. And then they did the midnight movie of Miami Vice. He said it was a very cool movie, and I ran into Phoebe Bridgers and Bo Burnham on the way out. The Miami Vice debacle. What a time that was, back when Twitter was cool.
That was wild. I still don't quite understand why or how it happened, other than I sort of engaged with maybe the wrong person. And I think I can talk about this now that it's been a couple years. But because I was told not to talk about it when it was happening, but I was shown a memo given to the staff of the theater that played in, that the woman who was sort of like causing all of that, she had been emailing and calling the theater all week demanding that they not play the movie because it was a form of harassment against her. So there was a memo sent out to the employees saying, like, if this woman calls, direct it to the manager, like, don't engage. And like, I just, so all of that was so bizarre. And it's so funny because like a few years removed, I'm not in that relationship anymore, just that is what it is. But I'm in a new relationship, for a couple months. And my current girlfriend, we've made the joke of like, I should do that all over again because she's never seen Miami Vice. I should try for number two, see if it hits the same way.
Very funny. Your new girlfriend, I don't know if you want to talk about that. She's the filmmaker, right?
Yeah. She's a filmmaker. Her name's Amy Kuge, and she made a very cool horror movie called Cannibal Mukbang.
It's on my list. It's streaming now. I was hoping to see it before we talk, just for prep, but it looks like a lot of fun.
It's very inspired by like that 2000s 2010s, like Jennifer's Body kind of aesthetic and vibe, and it's very fun. It's like a horror romance comedy, and I think it's great. And it's funny, when we met each other, I had seen the movie and we had gotten to talking, and it was like 2 hours just really hitting it off, talking to each other, before someone else where we were brought up that she had directed Cannibal Mukbang. And I had no idea that I was like talking to her, like that I was like, wow, I've seen your movie, I didn't know what you looked like. And as we're like falling for each other, like having no idea that I've seen this person's movie and that she's a filmmaker and this and that. But it's had a really fun festival run. I'm speaking for her, but it's I always tell everybody to make sure you watch it on Tubi, because that's where she makes her money from off
That's
the
where
ads.
I was planning on watching it. All my filmmaking friends say that Tubi is the best as far as working
Yeah,
with artists.
yeah, yeah. She loves her relationship with Tubi. She said the same thing you just said, that like it's the best for like independent film for you to like make your money.
Love that. Well, maybe I have her on down the line to talk about a horror movie. No,
No, she would love that. She'd be up for that.
she just sent me something real quick, but it's not like she didn't have any time to
Oh
think
no.
about it.
Oh, that's totally fine. I'm
She
excited
just
to
said
see
you're a
what
big
it is now.
WWE fan and ask him about that. Do you follow still wrestling?
So it's interesting. I grew up because my dad just loved it, and I grew up with him. I will go to shows with
Oh,
So
nice.
mostly AEW shows. Fellow critic and friend Siddhant Adlaka is a big wrestling fan, and he will buy tickets. And I think the group that always goes, it's me, him, filmmaker Ben David Grabinski, and YouTuber Patrick Willems. We all
Nice.
will go
I
to
like that a lot.
AEW shows.
Ben's new
Yeah.
movie looks fun.
Oh yeah. I'm. It's funny. I missed every test screening he had of it the last few years, and I'm finally seeing it this weekend. It's playing at Museum of the Moving Image. He's doing a Q and A. I'm very excited. But
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna reach out and just ask for a screener. I mostly try to support the local theaters here, and they
that
don't
one's not
often
coming
do
either.
action
Yeah.
movies. They play all sorts of cool stuff, but they don't often get action.
And his, I think, is unfortunately outside of a few like screenings, like this upcoming one is going right to Hulu. So because it's a
Oh.
Searchlight movie, and that's like kind of what's been happening with those. But
Oh, yeah, it
yeah,
is
no,
Hulu.
yeah, yeah. But like, long story short, with wrestling, I kind of fell off WWE. Like, I will have it on in the background sometimes, and I'll watch it sometimes. But like, I don't know. I Their politics are deeply upsetting. These last, I mean, they've always been that way, but these last few years, it's been
True.
really bad, just with just a lot of stuff that we don't need to get into. But I don't follow it week to week anymore. Wrestling, I don't really keep up, like, other than clips I see on Twitter or online. But I do like going to the live shows. I think like that's the most fun you can have. And the most recent show I went to was a New Japan Pro Wrestling show they had over in New Jersey. My girlfriend went with me, and it was very fun. But yeah, I don't know, just I think it makes sense with my, love of stunts and action filmmaking, that like wrestling is a natural extension of that.
Very nice. Well, Brandon, really appreciate your time, man. Have
Yeah, thank you.
enjoyed. I mean, I really like your writing and your interviews, but it's also been very cool as somebody who is trying to figure out his path. Like, it's been very cool seeing somebody going from being a janitor to interviewing Danny Boyle and recording Radiance and Vincent, commentary tracks and things like that. So, very excited for your success and appreciate you joining us, man.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and thank you for the kind words, and just like really being such a like so supportive of like my work and everything. I never know who it's hitting or who's reading it, and sometimes I get in my head of like, is anyone actually reading this? So it's nice to know that people are, and that just thank you so much. That really means a lot.
Absolutely. So what do you have coming out in the last couple months? What do you have in the next few months coming out as far as interviews,
Let's
Blu-rays, pieces that you're excited about?
let's see. I don't know when this airs, but I just interviewed Ian Tuason, director of Undertone. That just released a
Oh,
couple days
cool. I'm
ago.
excited for that. That's getting such mixed reviews. I'm very excited to check it out.
I liked it. I think if you like sort of like the lo-fi sort of slow horror vibe, I think it's good. I think fans of Skinamarink will like it, which I don't know. My girlfriend did not like Skinamarink, so
I
I'll have
haven't
to
seen
put her on
Skinamarink. I
blast.
don't know if I will love it, but I
Yeah,
think this undertone looks more up my alley.
it's good. I think it's being
Slim
hurt
from
by
Letterboxd called. I think about his review all the time. He called Skinamarink like the Jean Dielman of found
it is.
footage horror movie. I
It,
thought that
it
that was amazing.
it really is. And like but the thing with Undertone that I think is hurting it a little bit with people is that it's being marketed as the scariest movie ever made, and that was
I
immediately
hate
like,
that
oh
crap.
yeah, it's not the movie's fault, but I get it. Going in, you're thinking it's going to be one thing, but yeah. So that interview just came out, and then I have a bunch of interviews coming up that I'm either working on or about to do. I'm interviewing the great Christian Petzold on Wednesday. Very excited about that, for his new movie Mirrors #3. And yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I have coming up. I Just a
I
bunch
know
of
you had the
different
cat
interviews.
not terribly long ago from Radiance.
Yeah, that came out from Radiance, and just had the stuntman come out from Radiance, and the No Escape essay for Umbrella Entertainment, the great underseen Martin Campbell movie starring Ray Liotta.
Ooh, I got to check that out. I've not seen that yet.
It's bizarre. It's like, either I think it's a year before Goldeneye, and it's a very strange movie.
Um, I usually do this out of order, but I will say, are there any other things that maybe you haven't done, like the movies that you would recommend people put on their watch list or check out that are available now, like stuff you've seen recently that you really love that you want to bump up people's radars?
Um, so April, I don't know how far it's being released. It is a Janice movie, so it's probably going to get the Criterion treatment, whether that's like the vanilla Criterion Current or whatever they're calling that now, or the actual full on disc. But
the
She's a
Janus
friend.
contemporaries or whatever that
Yeah.
have, like, no special features other than, "We talked to the director for 10 minutes."
Yeah, yeah, and it might get that, but, so she's a friend, but I do mean this, it's not just, like, blowing up gassing up my
Sure.
friend. My friend Sophie Ramvari has been making shorts for years now. A lot of them premiered on Mubi. I think she's a tremendous special filmmaker. Her first feature premiered at festivals last year called Blue Heron, and it's finally coming out limited in April, and then it was bought by Janus, which is nuts. I can't wrap my head around that. And then
That's
Criterion,
amazing.
yeah, so it will get the disc treatment on some level. So if you aren't able to see it in April, I mean, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful film, just about sort of coming of age, like what we've been talking about for this last hour, but also just a very like fractured way of telling that kind of story. And I just think it's really special. It's called Blue Heron, and it was my favorite movie I saw last year, and it's officially coming out this year. So it's my favorite movie of this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lotta friend of the show, Marta Georgievich, 4.5 stars. Justin The Liberty, 4.5 stars. We'll
She's
check
been
that
working
out.
her way up to, I mean, I think she's about to explode. I mean, Cronenberg is moderating Q&As for her in Canada. She's Canadian royalty at this point,
Okay,
and
I love it.
yeah, but yeah, she's been working her way up to this, and I think that it's just to see her jump from her shorts, which I think are very good, to her first feature, which like really blew me away, and that's the one I hope people get to see. Hopefully, they get to see it in a theater, but I don't know. Janice has been better about releasing stuff. I know Magellan and Resurrection both got pretty good release treatments last year, so we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. All right, man. Well, again, thank you for and I might switch those out because we usually do the plugs at the end.
Oh,
But yeah,
cool.
that sounds like an awesome movie.
Oh, it's
I
really
I
beautiful.
will
Really.
connect with her, and I think actually I just looked at her on Letterboxd. I think I've seen her before, so I don't know if some of my critic friends, I know some people in Canada. I think I have seen her around. I'm not
It's
terribly
funny.
familiar, but I'll check out her shorts and maybe DM her about Blue Heron.
Yeah, it's funny. She was very much like a film Twitter person for a very long time, who also just happened to
God,
make short films, and then it just kind of like, I
I
don't know,
miss
maybe,
film Twitter, man.
yeah, it used to really be something. Now it's like, don't know what it is now.
I log in, like, about once a month to see if I have DMs, and even if I do, I don't often answer them. It's a real shame what happened to Twitter.
It really is.
Well, what a note to end on. Well, yeah, man, just appreciate this. Love the movie. Loved your piece with Boyle, and hope more people check it out. I feel like this is a great horror movie. Also, for maybe this is a good note to end on. I think 28 Years Later is a great horror movie for people who don't like horror.
Yeah, I completely agree, because it's not as scary as the first one at all, but I do think there's a few moments that really get to you. But yeah, I think
Yeah, there's
if
some
you're,
gruesome stuff, but it is an extremely human story.
for sure, yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the kind words. And yeah, this was great. I'd come back on for anything you want to talk about, for sure.
All right. That was 28 years later. Loved having Brandon on. As you can hear, that was a great time. I'm sure he's somebody who's going to be back before too long. Okay, on to Physical Media Corner here. Some listeners may have seen it on Instagram, but one of the things that we're very excited to be doing going forward is working with MVD Shop. They are a wonderful boutique Blu-ray and physical media. Not even just Blu-ray; they have music and other things too. Partnering with them to review some of their upcoming physical media releases. They've got a lot of very cool things. I wanted to highlight two titles today here briefly. The first one is a wonderful, wonderful film that 88 Films. It's a Hong Kong movie. 88 Films put out a gorgeous, wonderful new edition out. A 1990s She Shoots Straight. Wow. I'm glad I didn't. That's the first take. I'm going to keep that in. She Shoots Straight. Wonderful film. Notably, She Shoots Straight is making its Blu-ray debut. Wonderful film. Joyce Cadenza stars in this action classic about a newlywed police officer who battles a Vietnamese gang whilst also trying to impress her new in-laws. It is funny. It is action-packed. It is serious. It's melodramatic. This is one of those movies. There's a certain type of Hong Kong action movie that if you are a casual, non-derogatory film fan, you're like, oh, like A lot of people know Jackie Chan. Some people know Sammo Hung. Some people could maybe name one or two other action stars, but a lot of the stuff that makes it over here loudest and proudest is very like slapsticky and funny, super big set pieces, very kind of big. And this has some of that, but this also has a bit of an edge. It's pretty violent. Not everybody gets a happy ending. It is not as dour as some of the Hong Kong movies that I love. But no, this was really wonderful. This was a surprise. I know a lot of the people in this movie. I hadn't seen it before, but really love this movie. The new 2K scan is gorgeous. I love the new art, and there's a commentary with Frank Jang that I'm very excited to check out soon. So She Shoots Straight, definitely recommended. And that is currently out now. I don't know if MVD still has it. Last I checked, they were out of stock, but get it where you can if you can, or check it out somewhere. It's a real blast. Next one I wanted to highlight here is an item that is up for pre-order. Song of the Miraculous Hind from one of my new favorite labels, Deaf Crocodile. A side note for Deaf Crocodile, they are just killing it in a lot of things, but for me, the thing that I have really loved seeing, Deaf Crocodile is killing it in world animation. Animated films, feature length, and short films from all over the world, covering various topics with various degrees of seriousness. But I love all the different animated stuff that Deaf Crocodile is putting out. And Song of the Miraculous Hind is gorgeous. It's the 2002 film from world renowned animator Marcel Jankovic that tries to, and I think does a pretty good job, cover thousands of years of Hungarian history, mythology, culture, all in one very trippy, very just enveloping, beautifully done animation. This is one, it's got a 4K and a Blu ray. Deaf Crocodile always goes, just they go all out on the restoration. I will say my wife joined me to watch this one, and she liked it a lot too. This is one that darn near people of all ages could enjoy. Yeah, the film is divvied up into four sections. Each has its own distinct style. The beginning half was my favorite, but I enjoyed the whole thing. This would be killer. I know that Deaf Crocodile is doing pop-ups and various screenings around the country at local theaters. If you can get your local theater to play this Song of the Miraculous Hind, um, high recommendation. So it's available up for pre-order. I believe April 21st is the official release date. So go check that out. So that was Physical Media Corner. If you guys have any feedback of the show, emails and voicemails, like we had Scott's email on the show there, they can be sent to thesubstancepod@gmail.com. If it's a voice note that you're emailing, try to keep it 60 to 90 seconds. Let us know what you thought of the movies we're watching. You like 28 Years Later? Do you like The Bone Temple? Let us know. Or if you have suggestions on what we should cover in the future, you can send those there. Reminder, if you are watching along on Letterboxd, our tag is Substantive Space Cinema. Tag your review Substantive Cinema on Letterboxd, and we can interact with them on the show. There will not be an episode next week. We're still trying to keep up. This is a very busy month or so for us here, especially with Panic Fest coming up at Screenland Armor, which look out for some coverage of that as well. But if everything goes according to plan, I've talked about it on other shows. I just put out an episode with the Nightmare Junkhead podcast. We're doing the Into the Mouth of March Madness, the horror brackets here, and I did reveal, so I guess I'll say it here. If everything goes according to plan, our April Fool's episode that will be releasing on the 1st will be Team America, World Police, and we'll be joined by Justin LaLiberty of Vinegar Syndrome. So I don't believe that's currently still streaming on Netflix, but if you got Paramount Plus, if you got an old DVD or the new 4K, fire that up or just join us. It's going to be fun. Team America, look out for that on April 1st. So until then, I've been your host, Philip Marinello, saying thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time on The Substance.
Oh, and Oh, she told me to tell you. We can cut this out maybe, but she said that she just got your Instagram message.
Oh.
So yeah, she heard me talking.
You
So
should read it. Tell him to read it.
oh,
Oh, did
she
she
said,
respond?
"Oh, did you respond to it?" Okay, yeah, I guess you can read it live on the air.
Okay, well, that's actually part of the thing. Okay, pause for editing here. Hold on. Let's say whatever
You
you
want me
want to
to
say
set
about
her
her
up a
movie.
little more?
Her movie
Oh,
looks like a lot of fun. For like
it's very fun.
sickos, it looks like a great time.
Sheriff, we got a lot to talk about.
Welcome to Twin Peaks. I'm your Twin Peaks veteran, Special Agent Matt Hanna.
And I'm your first-time viewer, Sheriff Hannah.
And each week, we're visiting David Lynch and Mark Frost's Twin Peaks on our new show, Welcome to Twin Peaks, a Twin Peaks rewatch podcast.
Entering the town of Twin Peaks.
We're talking dreams, damn fine coffee,
A damn fine cup of coffee.
back we're talking mysteries,
And asking the important questions like, who really killed Laura Palmer? Are the owls what they seem? And why does this town feel like a nightmare you don't want to wake up from?
It is happening again.
Whether you're a longtime Twin Peaks resident or stepping into the Black Lodge for the very first time, Welcome to Twin Peaks is your guide through the woods.
What kind of fantastic trees have you got growing around here?
New episodes every week wherever you get podcasts.
And be sure to follow our socials at Welcome to Twin Peaks Podcast for schedules and opportunities to call and write into the show.
I'm gonna turn it upside down!
The mysteries are dense and the secrets are dark.
We'll see you in Twin Peaks with a fresh cup of coffee.